Now we will look at the classification of organisms based on the number of cells. Now, how many cells are present inside the body of a living organism? Now, just now I was telling that we human beings, we are made up of many cells. So how do we know which organisms are made up of how many cells? Now, based on the number of cells present in a living organism, organisms are divided into two categories: unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. Now, I don't think I really need to explain. Unicellular is made up of one cell. Multicellular is made up of many cells. So these are the two broad categories of organisms. So let us quickly have a look at the unicellular organisms. Let us look at what are unicellular organisms. So one cell constitutes the entire organism. So let us look at some of the, now here in these organisms there is just one cell. So all the life processes, for example, the processes which take place inside any living organism, whether it is digestion or excretion or respiration, so everything is taken care by this one cell. So single cell performs the basic functions that are characteristic of the organisms. So how to get food, how to digest the food, how to absorb the food, everything is done by that single cell. So one such example is amoeba. There are many other examples. So to start with amoeba, if you look at amoeba, they are shapeless. They do not have a specific shape. It is a microorganism, very small in size. They are generally found in marine regions where there is water. For example, the decaying bottom vegetation of freshwater lakes or ponds. So that is where you generally see them. So amoeba is one such unicellular organism where this particular organism which you see, that is nothing but one cell. So this cell will manage to do everything. Cell has changing shape. This next example would be Chlamydomonas. This is a green algae. So algae, you generally would have seen this on the surface of water. You often see that there is a green layer which is formed. So that is nothing but algae. So Chlamydomonas is an example of one such algae which is again unicellular, made of one cell. So this is how the structure of Chlamydomonas looks like. This is just one cell, and inside the cell you have a nucleus, you have a chloroplast, you have the flagella for movement. So these are the different structures inside the cell. The third example would be Paramecium. They have cilia for locomotion, and they are also a type of protozoa. We find them generally in freshwater or marine environments. They are often termed as slipper animalcule because of their shape, which resembles a slipper. Again, the most important unicellular organisms would be bacteria. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. They are considered amongst the first life forms on earth. It is said that all other life forms evolved from bacteria. You find them in a number of places. They are found in water, soil, inside the body of plants or animals. So they are found in quite a few places. So that was about unicellular organisms. Let us now talk about multicellular organisms. Now what happens in those organisms when too many cells are present? So many cells constitute the organism. Best example would be human beings. Now, one important characteristic feature of multicellular organism is division of labor. I don't think I need to explain it because I think I have explained it quite a number of times in the previous lessons. But still, just a short recap. Division of labor is that concept where all the cells in the living organism do not perform the same function. A group of cells perform one function, another group of cells perform another function, and so on. So it is like the entire task is divided into subtasks, and each subtask is assigned to a particular group of cells. So that is known as division of labor. So this concept comes into picture only in case of multicellular organism, because that is quite obvious. For unicellular, there is just one cell. So where will you divide the work? If there is one person in the team, that person has to take care of all the work. But if there are 10 members in a team, you can divide the work amongst them. So similar is the case here. So some organisms have cells of various kinds. Now, examples of multicellular organism is human being. Now, in human being only we can see that inside our body we have so many cells. But all cells are not alike. All the cells are not similar. Just think of all these cells. Think of the blood cells, the white blood cells and the red blood cells. Even all of them are not similar. Some are round in shape, some are biconcave in shape, some have amoeboid shape, irregular shape. You think of the nerve cell. It has got a very different shape altogether. It is quite long and then it has branches. Think of the bone cell, osteocyte. Again, it has a different appearance. The smooth muscle fibers, they are long with tapering ends. Again, that is very different. The fat cell or the adipose cell, so they again have a different appearance. The sperm cell or the egg. So all the cells there, I have not taken example of all the cells present inside the human body, but some of them have been shown in this screen, and you see that they differ from each other in so many ways. So one organism can have cells of many different kinds. Now, although cells can have different shapes because they are to perform different function, they might have different sizes, again depending upon their location and their function. So that means in case of a multicellular organism, many cells were present there. Many cells will be present in the organism, but there will be the concept of division of labor. One group of cell will perform one function and another group will take up another function, and so on. And also the variety of cells will also be huge. It is not that all the cells has to be similar. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again. We will now start with multicellular organisms. So many cells constitute these organisms. That's quite obvious. Multicellular, that means many cells. So many cells are present in this organism. So there is a division of labor in multicellular organisms. What do we mean by division of labor? That means the work is divided between different cells. For example, let us suppose you have, let us take this example. Let us suppose you have 10 people to work on a project, right? Now, in that project work involves so many different things. Maybe first you have to, let us suppose you have to construct a house and you have got 10 laborers with you, right? So what do? You actually divide the work among 10 of them. You ask 2 of them to get water. You ask the remaining 2 to carry the cement and all from one place to another. You ask the other 2 to start digging the ground. So similarly, you can divide the work amongst different people. Then what will happen? Many different types of works will happen simultaneously, right? So in a very similar fashion, in multicellular organisms, there is a division of labor. That means some cells perform a specific functions, few other cells perform some other function, again another group of cells perform some other function. So that is how the cells perform their function. So there is division of labor in multicellular organisms. Now, some organisms have cells of various kinds. So it is not necessary that one organism will have same type of cells throughout its body. Sometimes it also happens that one organism has many different types of cells. The example of such organism is human beings. In human beings, in all of our body, what do we see? Somewhere we have somewhere near the brain we have the nerve cells. Somewhere in the kidney we have the kidney cells, and those cells are not similar to each other. They look different. Their functions are also different, right? So sometimes it also happens that one organism has many cells and the cells are of different kinds. So let us look at the example. The first example and the best example that comes up in our mind is human beings. So in human beings, just look at the variety of cells you have. We have smooth muscle cells, we have blood cells, we have nerve cells, we have fat cells, we have bone cells, So just look at the variety which you have and just look at their appearance. Their appearance are also different, right? So the appearance of a bone cell, if you look at this cell, it is a flowery structure, right? So the appearance of a bone cell is so very different from the appearance of a blood cell or from the appearance of a smooth muscle cell, right? So, however, the organism is just one organism, but the variety of cells which are present in the organism is different, right? And each of these cells have a specific function to perform. For example, the function of the bone cell and the blood cell are not the same. Similarly, the function of a fat cell and a nerve cell is not the same, right? So that is how the structure is, in a multicellular organism. So the most important thing in a multicellular organism is division of labor. Okay. So now that we are clear with what are unicellular and what are multicellular organisms, let us now try to see what is a cell made up of. So till now we saw that, okay, cells are the structural and functional units of every living organism. Now let us look at the structure inside one cell. So let us now concentrate only on a single cell. We will see what is it made up of. So a cell is made up of components called cell organelles. So even inside a cell, you have different components, and these components are known as cell organelles. Now, how was it first observed that cell is also made up of cell organelles? So a cell is able to live and perform all its functions because of these organelles. And you see, even if a cell is performing some function, it will not happen magically, right? So a cell consists of different components called cell organelles. Now these cell organelles each perform a specific function. So the functions which are performed by each of the cell organelles together make a cell to live and to perform its functions. All cells have the same organelles irrespective of their function and organism they are found in. That means whether it is a nerve cell or a bone cell or a blood cell, whatever cell it is, the cell will have the same organelles. That means the components of the cell will remain the same even if the cell types are different or the cells are present in different organisms. Let us suppose a cell inside a human being and a cell inside any other animal, for example, elephant, right? The components or the cell organelles will remain the same inside both the cases, whether it is the cell inside an elephant's body or a cell inside a human's body. The cell organelles will still remain the same. So that means the structure of a cell basically remains more or less the same in all organisms, right? So now in this lesson we will concentrate, or we will study in detail the structure of a cell. We will talk about all the cell organelles which make up a cell. So what are the different organelles present in a cell? So here we have given a picture which gives an idea about the various organelles. So the organelles which are present are nucleolus, nucleus, and inside every cell you have a nucleus. So here this numbering actually tells us where these organelles are present. So right now I am not concentrating much on describing each of them because we will discuss each of them in detail in the later slides. So the next one is ribosomes, vesicles, rough endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, cytoskeleton, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, vacuole, cystosol, lysosome, centrioles within centrosome, and cell membrane. So these are the various cell organelles. That means these are the various components of a cell. And this picture actually gives us an idea of how a cell looks like. So inside cell you have so many different components arranged in this fashion. So now the purpose of the remaining lesson is to discuss about the structure and function of each of these cell organelles.